on the solution side of things, obviously, it's something I've said for years, and I think it's a fair statement. Again, because I've seen it time and time again. Restorers, to generalize, restorers seem to be poor cash managers. They seem to run their business out of their bank account. If the bank account is over a certain arbitrary number, a number that they've created in their mind, business is good. And when it falls below that arbitrary, almost imaginary line, suddenly business is not good. And then they react to business being not good. They can't read a P&L. There is no savings. There's no, there's generally one, two, or three accounts. There's not accounts with different purposes, like separating payroll, operating, general, savings, etc. They're not doing those things. So that's kind of like the prerequisites. One of our clients who has been around a long time, decades of experience, they knew going into 2024 it's going to be spicy. He just knew because he's done it before. He's survived recessions and election years and this, that, and the other. And so they made sure their storehouses were full. They had plenty of cash in the bank. Now, they happened to have one of their best Januaries on record, but he wasn't counting on that. He didn't know that going into January. It just happened to be how it worked out. But he had a phenomenal, really first quarter, but he already had that cash cushion, knowing, well, it sounds like 2024 is going to be a little rocky, so I better be prepared. So the cash aspect, that's a solution that unfortunately we didn't film this back in April or March or last year, but the cash reserve aspect is crucial. What are your thoughts on that, and what are some of the other solutions you've pinpointed? And I've got a few more, but I want to hear from
No,
you.
as far as cash flow, that's 100%. I mean, most businesses fail not because they don't do good work. It's not because their customers aren't happy. It's because of cash flow. That is true probably for generations. But that's not easy. Again, I go back to college, higher education, high school certainly doesn't teach you that. And I don't know many people, unless those parents that are really dialed into Dave Ramsey or some kind of financial, they don't teach kids that. You don't learn that until you go through it. I have a system I would love to share with anybody. It's a multiple bank accounts. It's a very analog way to do it, but it's you know the thing is knowing what you have. You fall in love with having a bunch of checks that just came from a surge you had 2.5 months ago, and now you think I have this money to spend. But you have your own poster on your wall. I have one on mine that says revenue is vanity, profit is sanity. I don't care what you make. I mean, I care what you keep. That's it. You can sell $20 million, but if you only can keep 2% and you need 10 to grow, what have you really done except for wear yourself out? So I would say that cash flow is important. And I would say recognize my input, and I'll tell you how this relates to me, is if you're a one-trick pony, if you just do water damage and you don't diversify into mold or other things,
Yep.
that's going to be seasonal. I think you need to consider adding other services that complement the one you have. I am a big fan of doing one thing, or at least one main thing. I don't think you should have a restoration company and a pharmaceutical company and a car wash. I think those are distracting, confusing, and everything. But I think if you do water damage, you do mold, if you bring in some crawl space encapsulation, maybe that's a good cash business. That's something that can be scheduled out. People need it. It's seasonal to a degree, but people do it in the cold. But it still has to do with the home. The same buyer still uses these things. I think having a strategy with your team saying, how can we insulate, knowing that there will be seasonal periodical slumps, that we have something else that's a light switch sometimes, turn it off, turn it on, that doesn't matter. But that would be one thing. And John, the last thing, and I know you have a lot and you're probably going to get in some other ones. I should get a tattoo that tells people, get third-party financing options into your company. Make it easier for your consumer. Especially, we talked earlier about in the slow times, you're giving more estimates. If you give them options of the thing that they need to do, but it doesn't look like a one big price, I have had so much success over using that in my tool belt. Like, listen, I know this would be tough. It's a $12,000 thing, but here's an option where it's $250 a month. Everyone can afford $250 a month as opposed to that. So those are some these are, we're talking about tools to deliver there, but